All right, so you're here because you want the real deal, right?
Yeah.
Not just the headlines, but like what's actually going on behind the scenes.
I think that's fair to say, yeah.
Well, we're jumping into a documentary everyone's buzzing about, like literally just came out today, April 9th, 2025. Bad Influence, The Dark Side of Kidfluencing. It's on Netflix, in case you haven't heard.
Yeah, this isn't just a quick fluff piece.
No, not at all.
This first episode, it really takes a hard look at the whole child influencer thing, specifically all the stuff surrounding Piper Rockelle and her mom, Tiffany Smith.
And we've been doing our homework.
Oh, yeah.
Like, seriously, dug into a whole bunch of sources to get to the heart of what this episode is showing us. Articles from Screen Rant, Netflix, Tudum, People Magazine, The Economic Times, Forbes, Biography, Time.
Wow, that's a lot.
It is. And a super insightful YouTube review from Rama's Screen.
Oh, I like Rama's Screen.
Yeah, they're good.
Very insightful.
Even checked out what folks are saying on Reddit over on Arfomoy.
Oh, okay, yeah, get into the nitty-gritty there.
Exactly. Our mission here is to break it all down for you.
Make sense of it.
Pull out the most important parts, the surprising stuff, from this first episode.
Right.
Help you understand just how complicated it is without getting totally lost in the weeds.
Because it's a lot.
It really is.
Yeah.
Think about it. Like, you're scrolling through videos, you see a kid influencer, all smiles, doing their thing.
Yeah.
Ever get that little voice in your head asking, what's really going on here?
Oh, for sure.
That's what we're doing today, diving deep into this Bad Influence first episode.
Unpacking it.
Totally. And huge shout out to iCandy before we forget.
They're great.
They're doing amazing work tracking this whole situation, as it unfolds.
Real time.
Yeah, and they're all about bringing authenticity to the creator economy, which can be a wild place, right?
Definitely can be.
So let's dive in. This episode really starts by setting the stage with Piper Rockelle's rise to fame.
Right, sets the scene.
She starts her YouTube channel, around like 8, 9 years old?
Yeah, something like that. The sources say 8, 9.
And by the time she's 11, this is 2018, her mom, Tiffany Smith, she's actively recruiting other teens to be in the videos.
This is where the squad comes in.
The squad sounds like a fun group of friends just hanging out, right?
I think so, yeah.
But the documentary is suggesting it was way more calculated than that, like a rotating cast of young influencers all trying to get their piece of the pie.
Yeah, they're making all this content together, pranks, challenges, those who has a crush videos, the ones.
Oh, totally.
And what's really interesting, reportedly, the whole idea was inspired by Jake Paul's Team 10.
Ah, that makes sense.
Which wasn't just friends, it was a business, like a content factory almost.
Wow.
Seems like Tiffany Smith was taking notes, and the pitch to the parents was, hey, your kid will get exposure, build their brand.
So hold on. We're talking about this seemingly chill group of friends, but it's actually orchestrated by a parent with a plan.
Right, from the get-go.
Changes how you see those collaborations, huh?
Definitely makes you think.
Then the documentary goes into Tiffany Smith's role, and there are some early warning signs.
Oh yeah, some red flags popping up.
She wasn't just a mom. She was a full-on momager.
Yeah, the momager title isn't always bad.
No, not necessarily.
But here, it feels different.
It does.
Like she was really controlling Piper's career maybe too much.
And the early content, sure, some of it seemed like harmless kid stuff, but even back then, the Rama's Screen review pointed out some risque moments.
Interesting.
And the episode doesn't shy away from the allegations that Tiffany was pushing hard for viral content, sometimes in ways that seem really questionable.
Pushing the limits, for sure.
Like in the trailer, Time mentions it. Tiffany dares a young girl to lick a smoothie off the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Like, what kind of pressure is that for a kid?
It makes you wonder about the ethics, When does creating engaging content cross the line into exploitation? Humiliating a kid for views.
Where do you draw the line?
Yeah, and that's not the only instance. Sawyer Sharbino, he was in the squad, said he was told to be mean to another kid star on her birthday just for the video.
That's so messed up.
Yeah.
So when you hear these stories, what boundaries should be absolute no matter what when it comes to kids and online fame?
That's the big question.
This episode really wants us to think about that, those ethical gray areas. And then it goes right into the pranks they staged for Piper's channel.
Right, the pranks.
Some of them weren't just harmless fun, they went way too far, potentially damaging these kids.
Yeah, messing with their heads.
Time talks about a few, like Piper pretending to break her leg, even staging a stroke, fake ambulance and all.
Oh, wow.
And then there's this one with an actor dressed as a cop arresting one of the teens. The kid's left in tears.
That's intense.
And it's not just about how the kids felt right then. Sophie Fergie, another squad member, she's quoted in Time saying, "People weren't informed it was a prank. Parents weren't informed."
That's a problem.
Huge problem. No transparency.
And Jensen's mom, John, are
Behind it.
total disconnect.
Makes you think. When you see that kind of money being made, especially by kids, who's really benefiting? And what responsibilities come with that?
Huge ethical questions there.
Big time. Were these kids' well-being truly a priority? Then the episode gives us a glimpse into some potential trouble through Sophie Fergie's experiences.
Oh yeah, Sophie's story.
Episode 1 tells us how Sophie and her mom, Heather Nicole, moved in with Piper and Tiffany.
People goes into detail about that.
Yeah, and Sophie's quoted saying she realized Tiffany was unstable, that you had to be careful around her. That's a pretty heavy statement for a young person to make about an adult in charge.
Especially someone in that position of power.
Right. And then there's Sophie's claim, also in People, that Piper asked her mom to move in because she needed a stable parent.
Wow, that's powerful.
It is. A kid saying that about their own family situation speaks volumes.
It does.
Now, Tiffany denies this in her statement to People. Says it was Heather's idea because they were having problems.
Different sides of the story.
Totally. But when a child feels the need to seek a stable parent from a friend's mom within their own home, what does that tell you?
Definitely raises some major red flags.
And then there's this whole bleaching and cleaning thing that comes up in the episode.
I know, that was intense.
People mentions all the cats in the house. Like, it got up to 60.
That's a lot of cats.
It is. And Heather Nicole talks about Tiffany's obsession with cleaning. Like 2 hours every night with bleach water.
Seriously?
Yeah. And Sophie backs this up. Says they had to clean until 3 a.m. after filming.
That's crazy late.
It is. Heather even remembers Piper and Sophie falling asleep at the top of the stairs while they were supposed to be bleaching.
Exhaustion, potentially dangerous conditions, that's not right.
Definitely raises concerns.
It does.
And Tiffany, in her statement to People, she frames it as just a family chore, taking care of sick kittens.
Okay, but still.
Yeah, those demands, the cleaning, the filming schedule, gotta wonder how that affects kids physically and mentally.
No doubt. Seems like way too much pressure.
And then there's this whole thing with Child Protective Services that the episode touches on.
Oh, right, the CPS visit.
Sophie says she got a warning back in April 2020. CPS was coming to the house.
Serious stuff.
And she claims Tiffany coached her and Piper on what to say.
Coached them.
Yeah, told them to say she was nothing but nice, nothing but normal. Even asked Sophie, "Do you want your best friend's mom to go to jail?"
Putting a lot of weight on a child's shoulders there.
It is. Like, how do you even process that as a kid?
Situation.
Heather says CPS might have been fooled by how things looked. The big house, the kids well-dressed, the house all clean.
Appearances can be deceiving.
Definitely. And Tiffany, in People, denies coaching the kids, says they were all surprised by the visit.
So many conflicting accounts.
It's messy.
Yeah.
But when you hear about kids potentially being told how to talk to authorities about their own lives, what does that say ethically?
That's manipulation, potentially, of a system meant to protect vulnerable people.
Exactly. So that's a lot to unpack just from the first episode.
Yeah, a lot of layers.
But it's a series, there's more to come. The episode descriptions from Netflix Tudum give us some hints.
Yeah, what might be next?
Episode 2, #Crush, seems to be about the fame of Piper and the squad growing even bigger.
Makes sense.
And it mentions parents getting worried about Tiffany's behavior, saying it's inappropriate, and there's troubling attention from adults.
Oh, that's concerning.
It is. It makes you think about, like, the adultification of these child influencers.
The dangers they might face, online and off.
Exactly. And then episode 3, #Unfollow, sounds even more intense.
Oh.
Talks about Tiffany's reaction to kids leaving the squad, a bombshell lawsuit, even an FBI investigation.
Things are escalating.
Big time.
So if we connect those descriptions with all the info we've gathered from the other sources, even stuff not specifically mentioned as happening in episode 1, we can kind of guess what might come up later.
Like where?
Well, there's the lawsuit from 2022 filed by 11 former squad members.
Right, the one alleging abuse, emotional, physical, and sexual.
Yeah, that seems like a major piece of the puzzle that'll probably be explored more.
Absolutely. And the specific allegations are really disturbing.
Like what specifically?
There are claims of inappropriate touching, sexually suggestive comments to minors, And this really messed up accusation, it's in Forbes and People, about mailing Piper's soiled underwear.
Oh, wow. That's awful.
It is. And the Economic Times and Biography, they mention claims that Tiffany would impersonate characters like Frank the Pug or Lenny the Dead Cat and shout explicit stuff.
That's so bizarre and disturbing.
It really paints a dark picture, something we didn't see much of in the first episode, but maybe it comes up later.
Makes sense.
We also know from People that Sawyer Charbino started questioning his involvement, eventually left because he felt he had no creative input. The joy was gone.
Sad to hear.
It is.
Yeah.
And there are reports of smear campaigns against anyone who dared to leave the squad.
Trying to silence them.
Totally. And legally, there's been a lot going on. Multiple sources confirm the $1.85 million settlement reached in October 2024.
Big money involved.
Yeah, Forbes and Biography also mentioned Tiffany and Piper filing a counter lawsuit, which they later dropped, and YouTube demonetizing Piper's channel.
So many ramifications.
It's a huge mess, and it's important to remember, Time reported this. Back in 2021, Pink even tweeted about her concerns over the over-sexualization of child influencers like Piper.
Bringing it into the public eye.
Yeah, and the Economic Times had this statistic that's really unsettling, that a big chunk of the problematic content found on computers of people interested in child sexual abuse, it comes from social media.
That's scary.
And that most of the audience for teen girl influencers is male.
Putting it all in a much larger and honestly disturbing context.
So, knowing what this first episode has shown us, what are you most concerned about as we wait for the rest of this series? About the whole kidfluencing world in general? It feels like we've only just scratched the surface.
Yeah, just the tip of the iceberg.
Let's recap. In this first episode of Bad Influence, we've seen how the squad was more manufactured than it seemed, likely orchestrated by Tiffany Smith. We've heard concerning accounts of her behavior, the immense pressure of online fame on these young people, and signs of unease, potential exploitation from those involved.
Right, a lot to think about.
And like we said, this is just the beginning. The next episodes will probably dive into even more serious allegations, the legal battles that followed.
It'll be interesting to see how it all unfolds.
This episode forces us to think about the ethics of child content creation, our role as viewers in this digital age.
Absolutely.
After seeing this glimpse into kidfluencing, what responsibility do we have as viewers, as a society, to protect these young creators? And do you think the laws we have now are enough to handle the challenges of this online world?
Those are the questions we need to keep asking.
Definitely food for thought.